Hi guys, and welcome to another video. Today we have a PlayStation 4 that was brought into us by a customer. He stated that he wanted to give it a clean himself, so he decided to take it apart, clean it, and when he put it back together, it would only beep on and then turn pretty much straight back off again. My first thought when I received this console was he had damaged the 5-volt connector to the main board and it wasn't turning the 12-volt supply on. But you know, it was, so I was preparing for this to do trace work. Now, as you just saw in the video there, I have just turned it on and it does, blue light comes on a couple of seconds and then it does go back off again. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start by tearing this down, so getting the screws out and have a look. Now, customer's not done a bad job with regards to taking this apart. There is a few components, screws mainly, missing. The metal grill at the top of the screen is also a little bit deformed, but generally, you know, the customer did do a relatively reasonable job at this. Things like this happen, you know. I commend anybody that wants to give this a go and actually have a pop at repairing or servicing their own console. You know, I'm a big advocate for it. It's how I got started, and to be honest with you, you know, I believe more people should give it a go. Sadly, this time, you know, it didn't work out for the customer. He's had to bring it to me. But hopefully, this will be a nice, simple fix. And if we do have to do some trace work, then hopefully it will be nice and simple. So carry on watching and see what happens. Now, at this point, I was looking, because I was thinking it was the torn 5-volt connector. I was looking to strip the whole console down, and obviously to get most of it apart you do need to take the power supply out. So at this point I decided to go ahead and pull the bottom of the console off, and so we can actually get in and get the power supply out. Again, ribbons, flexes could be routed better, could have, you know, but at the end of the day, the customer's done this, very little experience. And to be honest with you, he's not done a bad job. This console will run, it will perfectly fine once fixed. So, you know, kudos to him for having a go. But yeah, so we'll get this power supply out and we're shortly going to see something that I missed at first, and you'll notice, you'll actually get to see it before I notice it in the clip. So what I'm going to do is pop this power supply out, and if you keep an eye out in the top right hand corner of the console, you'll see what I'm talking about. There will be a picture that pops up just showing you. Here I am just trying to remove the connector, and you see that there on the picture? The two prongs that go into the power supply have actually been pushed together, so they've either both gone into the positive side of the power supply, or they've both gone into the ground side. So what this means is when you press the button, the console sends the 5-volt, well, it has the 5-volt signal to go, yep, wake up, and turn the power the main 12 volt power supply on. And what happens is, if you've obviously got both pins in one or other side of the power supply, that 12 volts is either going straight to ground, or, well, it's really going nowhere because it's not making a full circuit. So it's quite a common thing that these pins get pushed together. It's caught me out a few times. I even mentioned this to the customer when I first started repairing consoles. This caught me out. And as you can see there, I'm just pushing the pins apart. A little bit of pressure. They do flex out. They are quite stiff, but they do flex out quite easily. So just be careful you don't bend them the other way. Also, it's worth checking the connector on the power supply side. This meaning, just to make sure it's not damaged, because it's not designed to have both pins in one side. So we want to make sure that those springs have not been pushed apart and opened up. Pretty much as soon as I realised this, I kind of knew that obviously the connector was still there, but I kind of knew what was causing the issue, and I knew that this was going to be a relatively easy fix. So at this point, just to test my theory, it was a case of popping the power supply back in and giving it a quick test. Now, with all consoles like this, you'll see me in the video actually put the console back together. What I'll do is I'll give it a good test, and then I will give it I actually tear it down afterwards, service it, put it back together. I do it that way just to make sure that everything's good before I go ahead and service the console. Right, this bit here, I'm just going through and testing the console itself. Now, I didn't realise at this point that I actually had an issue with my capture card. It had frozen. So I'm thinking, because obviously not using my microscope that goes through the same capture card, it was just displaying what was on my desk. I didn't think to check, and the whole time I'm checking the HDMI port. Now, just before doing this, I had done a PlayStation 5 HDMI port, so I thought, there might be a little bit of flux in the HDMI connector, so I gave that a test. I even pulled the connector out of my camera, just in case that cable had gone bad. I think at one point I even pulled over one of my monitors that has an extra HDMI cable out of it to test it. And that's when it displayed on that. That's when I kind of realised that, hang on a second. As you can see there, I'm cleaning out the HDMI cable. But yeah, no. In a second, you'll see it flick over. There we go. Camera resets. And if I flick the camera over, we should get display now. But yeah, it did actually spend a few minutes trying to figure that out. There's me thinking it was an issue with cable console when it was actually a piece of software on my computer. So it's always good to go back and do just checks to make sure where you are. Always having a backup way of testing as well comes in handy. But yeah, so we've got this displaying. We've got this working, turning on, displaying. What I will be doing, as I mentioned earlier, off camera, I'll spend half hour just testing the console, making sure it runs, loads a game, installs a game, etc., connects to the internet, the usual sorts of things. Make sure I'm happy to give it back to the customer, and then I will give it a full tear down and clean. Although the customer did say he took it apart and cleaned it, because I have worked on it and I will warranty the work that I've done, even though it's just sorting the connector. If anything goes wrong beyond this point, I could be and can be held responsible. So for my peace of mind. I like to give the console a full once over, which does include stripping it down and cleaning it, replacing thermal pads, thermal paste, giving the fan a good and the heatsink a good clean out, because most customers will take bits off, they'll change the thermal paste, but they won't actually pull the metal plate out to get into the heatsink. So that's one thing that I will do. But for now, I'm just popping the screws in, just making sure that everything's secure and kept together. And I am just going to pop this console back together, so I will test it later off camera. And yeah, I will contact the customer, have a chat with him, let him know, you know, these things happen. Happened to me on one of my first PS4 Slims. I ended up, caught me for a good 2 or 3 hours. I thought I'd broken a console. I spent a long time going around the board checking for voltages, shorts, this, that and the other, and somebody mentioned about the prongs, and I looked, didn't think anything of it, popped the power supply back in, and boom, there we went, and it fired up just as simply as you've seen in the video today. But yeah, that's a nice, luckily one of the nice simple repairs I've had in. It's quite nice to get jobs like this, although we do like the ones that are a little bit more complicated. They can be quite stressful, especially when they don't always go the way you want them to, but you know, we persevere. But we'll definitely, you know, I've spoke to the customer since recording this video, and he's definitely happy. He's also mentioned that next time he has a issue, he'll be bringing it to me rather than trying to sort it himself, which is fair enough. If he feels more confident doing that, then that's completely up to him. But yeah, so that's a OG PS4 1200 model. It came in with a beep on, turn straight off, and it was a nice simple fix for us, which is quite nice. Good win for us. We always like the wins, and yeah, so thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, if you could give it a like, I'll give it the thumbs up. Also, if you're not subscribed, if you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Turn on the notifications. As you can see, I am trying to get more content out. There's a little bit filtering through. Some of it is shorts at the moment, just while I'm getting the camera setup sorted. I'm still having audio issues, hence the reason for the voiceover today. I've just changed a few parts in my PC, and I didn't have my mic set up properly, so I'm jabbering away, and yeah, so I've had to do a voiceover today. But yeah, so thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time. The plan is for the next one is an iPad digitized replacement. Quite an interesting one, hopefully something different for the channel. And yeah, we'll see you then. Take care. Bye bye.